Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, give us few minutes, sir. We'll just
Okay.
start with the session. Yeah. Welcome you all to the second session. We have today our speaker, Sriranjan Upur from Robert Bosch. He's an engineering manager and he worked on many autonomous driving projects. And he's having over 17 plus years of experience in vehicle infotainment and advanced driver assistance systems. His other area of interest will be travel photography, gardening, all those things. He is going to deliver a session on introduction to autonomous vehicles. We are happy to have you here, sir. Sir, your voice is not audible. I think it's muted.
It's
Yeah,
better now.
yeah, sir, fine. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you
You can.
for the warm welcome and yeah, good morning all. Right, I will start with my presentation. Good. So is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as introduced myself, Sriranjan. So I'm working with Bosch almost for 15 years now, and currently I'm working on autonomous vehicle project, mostly on the middleware area. So prior to that, I have worked on infotainment domain for 10 years plus. And as hobby, I do travel a lot, travel photography, and yeah, recently I picked up gardening as well as yeah, YouTuber, part-time YouTuber. That's about me. And here you can see my contact details. If you have any questions and further clarification, you can reach out to me. Good. So when it comes to the autonomous driving, what drives the autonomous driving as a global trend? So if you look at what will be the mega trends globally, is one thing is the demography is changing all over the world. The average global age will be 32.2 by 2030. So that's 4 years older than today. So that means yeah, people are getting aged. The next one is urbanization. So 70% of the world's population live in cities by 2050. Yeah, it doesn't mean that everybody will come to Bangalore and things like that to the city, but there will be a new cities also growing, especially on the tier 2 and the tier 3 side, where tier 1 will get more and more cloud. On the energy and climate, 30% more energy usage worldwide by 2035. It's mainly because of more and more devices being added to the system and which all needs energy. And more than 50 billion of devices will be connected to each other in one or the other form by as early as maybe next year, or it may be reached already now. So maybe it is yeah, home automation or mobility or yeah, industry. Okay, so when you see the mega trends listed there, what does it mean for driving autonomous driving or automated driving? So basically, the urbanization. What are the pain areas that it is going to address? So as the entire world is a city, if we consider, and car will be the third living space, the home, office, and then the commute. That's the third living space. And people want more and more luxury inside a car when they commute, as commute time is going to increase. And people want to relieve from the congestion and stress. They want to do something else while driving rather than involved in a driving. People feels time equal to money and improved throughput in the transportation system, which will lead to the increased productivity. And from moving from point A to B will not be a one route. People will choose a multi-modal transportation system in the connected world. And pollution plays an important role. Many cities preferring or having restrictions on allowing or promoting public transport and electric vehicles. As you can see already in Delhi, all the you know that odd and even numbers and things like that. And there is a strong push to stop the diesel passenger cars, where you can already know that Maruti stopped producing diesel cars starting from last year. The demography. So how does it impact demography? The aging population needs more and more assisted and automated services. The people get aged and they will have a difficulty in commuting, but they need to commute. So autonomous driving will enable them to move from one point to another point, and irrespective of the age and gender. So even people without a driver license can travel from point A to point B easily if it is an automated drive. And especially in the Western countries, the new generations, the interest shown towards getting driver's license is very, very low. The fact is, one, it is very expensive, and people wanted to explore the other mode of transportation than driving themselves. Basically, they go for a rental options for a commute. This is a huge opportunity for a mobility solution providers, as they will have a huge customer base to encash it. And people wanted to spend quality time for the community and family, which raises the demand for automated driving for long distances as well. So if we consider the next pillar would be the technology. So data is the new oil, right? So this is the saying. So big data is all around. So in a car, all the sensors or vehicle infrastructures are connected to the cloud, and there is a huge amount of data. So algorithms like AI, ML, deep learning will play a pivotal role in personalization solutions. Just to give an example, when it comes to the data, so if you try to book a Uber taxi from your mobile, if you have two mobiles, you can try this and check. When your battery is less than 20%, Uber always shows the premium charge than when your mobile is 100%. So it's all built on top of AI, artificial intelligence. It understands that somebody is catching a taxi or booking a taxi before their battery goes down is higher, and they are ready to pay premium. So that's a logic they wanted to encash. I think it's most of the fleets or Ola, Uber, they employ that. There's a reason you see different pricing at the same place. If two people are trying to book, they get a different pricing, because the pricing decided by the data which is thrown out of your mobile, not by the number of cars. Of course, it is also number of cars available in that area, but the data given by you also plays an important role. And privacy and ownership of data. So privacy, it plays a pivotal role. Especially in Europe, they have taken a decision to protect the personal data. They have a GDPR, the data regulation, where people have to give a consent to store their private data in the cloud of any apps. Without that, they cannot do that. So with this, data drives a different business model, as I already given some examples. And consumer electronics integration to the car, firmware update over there, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to uh, uh, vehicle plays another pivotal point which decides overall the mobility solutions of the future. So if you look at what future would be is future mobility will be electrified, automated, connected, and shared. So if you have any questions in between, you can speak up. You can stop me and you can speak up. So I don't want to have a monologue. Rather, I would like to have a dialogue. Feel free to ask questions anytime. Okay, so now jumping back to why autonomous cars. So if you look at the business case, the economic part of it, it's the reduced operation cost for a fleet operator. Why? Because they needed to pay for a driver, and cars will meet with the very less accidents because cars are driven by the system, and it will have a better algorithm. So reduced cost of travel for the customer, mainly because there is one is you get a more mileage or economic fuel consumption, and also the number of people involved in getting the car to you is drastically reduced. And reduced medical and insurance cost, since the system is driving and insurance companies will have the difference premium model for that. It's already there in Western countries where the insurance premiums are not decided for the car. It is designed for a driver. So each driver will have a scores and their accident histories. And if somebody has 0 accidents in last 3 years, their insurance cost will be a bare minimum. So that way it will be economical. And for the society, it's a reduced road accidents. If you look at the study, the maximum number of accidents that's happening in everywhere is due to the human error. With the driverless cars, we are eliminating the risk of a human here. And that's how the accidents are getting reduced. The higher road efficiency and time saving from driving and improved productivity. So one is, since there is no driver, so you will have your own time, which you can use for anything. So higher road efficiency is mainly because if all cars are connected and centrally fleet operators can have a optimized algorithm for a route from A to B. And it need not have to take always the same road, depends on the vehicles on the road. It will deviate the routes and it will reach faster. And improved convenience, especially for those who are unable to travel. It could be a aged people or it could be a people who is not eligible for availing the driving license, or people who doesn't have driving license itself. So reduced chance of infections. This is mainly during this pandemic time. So people wanted to have very less contact with the externals with driverless cars. So they can have all the cars for themselves without driving. On the environment part, the improved fuel efficiency and less emission, and it is zero emission in case of electric. And improved vehicle utilization rate, because if a single person owns a car and if he comes to office, so then car will be parked in the office or it will be at home garage. So in case of autonomous driving and shared taxi, so once it drops some person, so then it will be available for pickup for the next person immediately. So that way, cars will be used more and more effectively, and the demand for new car reduces while keeping the comfort of people intact. So this is also a huge impact for our environment. Okay, so when it comes to the automation in levels of automation in car, SAE, that is Society of Autonomous Automobile Engineers, have come up with the levels defined, and accordingly people claims where their car belongs to. So there are 6 levels of autonomous driving. And if you have recently seen the advertisement of maybe a XEV 700 or MG cars, so they claim that they are level 2 autonomous in India. So what does it mean? So let us go through. Level 0 is no automation. That means only a driver will perform all the tasks. When it comes to the level 1, so vehicle is controlled by the driver. So that means driver is needed. But some driving assist features may be included. So maybe longitudinal or latitudinal. That means either car can control the going forward or moving to the sideways. So for example, going forward is cruise control. So this is driver assistance, and moving lateral is the lane keep assist. So the car will be within the lane automatically when it departs from the center of the lane. Level 2 is partial automation. So where vehicle will have the combination of two functions, longitudinal and latitudinal, being controlled by the car, whereas primarily driver being responsible. Third one is conditional automation, where driver is necessary, but it is not required to monitor the environment for a given set of use cases. And driver must be ready to take control of the vehicle at any given time of time. And until the level 3, the driver is responsible for any liabilities that is coming from the road accidents. And level 4 is high automation, where vehicle is capable of performing all the driving functions under certain condition, and driver may have the option to control the vehicle. But it is not really necessary that driver should be there. If driver is not able to take the control, then car will go to the safe zone. The fifth one, there is no role of driver here. It is fully vehicle is taking all the driving functions, and driver need not have to be there in the vehicle. If you look at the examples for a level 1, ACC is adaptive cruise control and lane assist, and level 2 is traffic jam and highway assist. Level 3 is traffic jam pilot and highway pilot. Level 4 is exit to exit. And fifth one is shared vehicle or fully automated vehicle. And if you look at what is the role of driver, so it's a reduced effort. So driver will basically speeding or steering support in case of level 1. In case of level 2, speed and steering support together. In level 3, drivers can take off. His eyes will be off for some situation. Maybe he can check his mobile or read mail or books. So in level 5, driver can sleep. So fairly it is driverless. And level 5 is always driverless. So when you come inside, a little inside, how do you design such a thing? So this is a little more detailed. So where you can see that so when it comes to driving, there is primarily 3 parts, right? One is as a driver, human driver, what you do object detection, and as a response, you do steering, acceleration, and deceleration. So that's a human driver. So if you want to replace that, then same thing has to be done by the system. So in case of level 1, who does the steering and acceleration? It's the driver and the system. In case of partial automation, it is system is doing, and all other levels, the acceleration and deceleration is done by the system. In the level 2, object detection, object and event detection, and its response is the primary responsibility of the driver, whereas in level 3, a system takes care of the response as well. It is not just object detection, it's also responding to the situation. And when you look at high automation, even the fallback is also from the system. So when you say fallback, what happens if driver is not able to take over? Then system will fall back and it will park to the safe zone. In full automation, it's all the use cases are done by the system. So far good? Okay. So if you look at what are the different functions which is available, so you can just read through this slide. So basically, driving functions and parking functions, there are two different categories. Whereas the high level of automation is achieved in case of parking functions because it's a fully controlled environment. So for example, in case of Bosch has achieved fully automated valet parking, that's level 4 functions. So it's already available in Germany. Whereas in driving functions, I think all the companies are now trying to reach level 3. Why is that? I'll tell in a minute. Yeah, meantime, so just for a clarity, I'll just play this video.
Paving the way to automated driving. According to classification by SAE International, Bosch already offers technologies and solutions for volume production up to and including level 4, high driving automation. Vehicles need to have 3 fundamental skills for automated driving. They have to be able to perceive and interpret their surroundings, sense, use this information to make forecasts and derive a suitable driving strategy, think, and then implement this in a reliable and safe manner, act. This way you could say that Bosch technology provides the automated car with all of its senses. Using the information provided by radar, ultrasound, video, and LiDAR sensors, the vehicle can holistically perceive and understand its surroundings and the vehicle interior. The vehicle computer is the brain of the car. It processes the recorded data and information in real time and plans the driving strategy. The powertrain, steering, and brakes represent the vehicle's muscles, so to speak. They reliably implement the calculated driving strategy. By way of example, let's go on a journey through the 5 levels of automated driving. Our journey begins at level 1, driver assistance. Assisted driving involves systems that support the driver, either in longitudinal control, in other words braking and accelerating, or lateral control, meaning steering. The driver must constantly monitor these functions and always be in a position to immediately intervene and make corrections. In a parking garage, a vehicle approaches us in a tight space. The driver stops to reverse. The reversing assist takes over the steering and automatically follows the vehicle path that has been previously recorded. All the driver needs to do is accelerate or brake. Let's drive on the freeway. To keep a safe distance from the vehicle in front, adaptive cruise control helps the driver with ultra-comfortable braking interventions. If the vehicle ahead continues to speed up or leaves the lane, the function will automatically accelerate to reach the driver's chosen speed. Tiredness and distraction are the most frequent causes of a driver unintentionally drifting over lane markings, especially on long and monotonous journeys. The lane centering assist prevents this by actively keeping the vehicle in the center of its lane, bringing both driver and load to their destination safely and comfortably. We have now safely and comfortably arrived at level 2, partial driving automation. From this level, the driver is offered support in longitudinal and lateral vehicle control. However, the driver continues to be responsible. Traffic jam on the freeway, an unpleasant situation and very tiring for the driver. The partially automated Bosch Driving Assist now takes over longitudinal and lateral control. The combination of lane centering assist and ACC automates both the speed and steering to take pressure off the driver. This means traffic jams or stop-and-go traffic can be managed highly, comfortably, and safely. Once the driver arrives home, the Home Zone Park Assist can maneuver the vehicle into and out of their parking space at the touch of a button. The driver only needs to monitor the parking process. Let's hit the road again, this time to level 3, conditional driving automation. From level 3 onward, the system takes over all driving tasks in certain scenarios. However, the driver must be capable at all times of resuming full control when requested to do so. One example of this is driving on the freeway. The Bosch Driving Pilot will allow the driver to take their hands off the steering wheel so that they can actively use the infotainment system, for example. As of level 3, systems such as steering, braking, the vehicle electrical system, and data processing have been designed with redundancy. This means if one system fails, there is always another capable of assuming the respective task and, for example, bringing the vehicle to a safe standstill in a critical situation, a must when it comes to safety. With level 4, high driving automation, a small but mighty difference comes into play. Just like level 3, this level's automated driving functions take over all driving tasks under specific circumstances. But the driver no longer needs to be ready to take control at all times and can do other things instead. The system is therefore responsible for the driving tasks, which means that even in the event of system errors, the system function is ensured by redundancy. Bosch has already reached this level with automated valet parking, the first officially approved highly automated parking system. Once the driver has left the vehicle in the drop-off area, the smart Bosch infrastructure installed in the parking garage takes over and interacts with the technology in the vehicle to drive it to the vacant space and park it. This is where we are at now, but where do we go from here? When we reach the 5th and final level, fully automated vehicles could be used everywhere and in all circumstances, handling a trip from A to B totally independently at all times.
Good. So any questions so far?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes.
now, yeah, please. Hello, somebody?
No questions, sir.
No questions. Okay. Yeah. So if you look at what is the core 3 pillars to achieve this automated vehicle is through 3 pillars, that is sensing, thinking, and acting. So sensing, if you can relate, it is to yours as a driver. It's the eyes and ears of a driver, that is sensing. So that's achieved by many sensors, that is video cameras, radars, lidars, and ultrasonics, and also microphone. And it's also necessary to locate where the car is. So for that, a combination of the algorithms are used using GPS, GNSS, and radar video signals, and also the car dynamics. The perception is basically the brain part of a driver, where he sees the things and perceive it, and he will define the action, what to do, either to brake or accelerate or steer. right? So perception is the main where algorithms are used to decide what action needs to be done for the input we received from the sensors. And act is actually the leg and hands of a driver. So this is how a driver shall be replaced by the system. And if you look at on the sensing front, these are the range of different sensors which shall be used by the car. It's a combination of multiple sensors shall be used. For example, to achieve fully autonomous vehicle, we may need more than 70 sensors in a car, equipped different sensors in a different area, for example. But as a SAE, they don't give a recipe or tell that what sensor a car OEM needs to use. It's up to the individual car OEM to deploy the required things and achieve the different level of automation. So they don't say that if you use camera, then only it is level 2 and things like that. It's up to the OEMs, how do they achieve it. Right. And the sensing part is powered by artificial intelligence. So here you can see the screenshot of this is the algorithm output run on a video camera input, that is the free space algorithm, where it identified cars, cyclists, and pedestrian differently. And this is an output from the radar and lidar point cloud data. And this is again a simple video camera input where objects has been defined. For all these things to achieve, a deep neural network shall be used. So now come to why deep learning, right? So when you look at the traditional computer vision algorithms, there has been a experiment is done where the human performance to detect an object is the more than 95%. So with the traditional computer vision algorithms, we can achieve up to say 70-75% of accuracy. And this is enough to achieve level 1 and some of the level 2 functions, but not even level 3. Because to achieve level 3, where system detects the object and it also responds, it also needs to create a response, it needs more accurate. And when they do the same test with the deep learning, it outperforms the human. So there's a reason the deep learning is deployed in the autonomous driving to achieve anything more than level 3. So if you look at, it could look like a fairly simple that, what needs to be identified as a system, that is, set of environmental items. It could be static objects like, the cones which is kept in the work zone, or it could be a road signs you can see here, or here also. Road signs and traffic lights. Then the moving objects, these are the cars or moving objects, and there will be a road markings and the lane markings and the crosswalks or the zebra walks and things like that. These are the typical things which needs to be observed. But even though it looks simple, but for a machine or a system to do it, it's not easy. I hope you all know. So it is not as intelligent as human. So a human can see that there is a truck fell down on the road. And human, we can easily say that, okay, it's a truck fell down. But the system will not detect this. If the algorithms are not accurate, they may see this as a different object. Need not have to be a truck, because for a system it is two wheels, one above. I think it will get confused. And when it comes to the human, when system needs to drive automatically, it not only detects the human, it also need to predict that which direction people are moving. If are moving away from the car or away from the road, then car can drive. If they're coming towards the car, then car has to be stopped. So it has to be predict that. It also needs to differentiate between a policeman and a normal citizen, right? Normal people. And it also needs to identify the pets or the animals. And it also needs to identify whether it's a car or a truck. This is important because it needs to overtake, then it also needs to plan the path planning to overtake. And it also needs to identify whether it is a brake light or a blinking light, or it could be a traffic signal. For example, in this picture, you can see it's a construction vehicle with two tail lamp being on, but whereas here you can see it's actually a traffic post. And if you look at localization data, it says that there is a traffic pole, and it may get confused as a traffic light. So there are many such scenarios needs to be handled, and it gets more and more complicated. For example, the ambulance or the police jeep will have these flashing lights, and autonomous vehicle needs to detect that, and it should make a way for it, right? It should go aside and give a way to do that. So these categories are called as blue vehicles. And for example, these are the extreme cases. If you look at here, so this is an mini truck attached with the trailer. And yeah, this also needs to be identified as a subcategory, because the aim is to achieve 99.99% accurate. So then only the fully autonomous vehicle will be safe. Otherwise, these vehicles will not be good to go on the roads. So for example, so this picture, the car may get confused as a signboard, right? So it doesn't look like a truck side view. So a lot of intelligence has to be built in, and this is detected as an object because it's an toppled car. And this is detected as a special vehicle because it doesn't have two front wheel, and this is, algorithm will get confused. So why it is so difficult to detect this 100%? So just how well we can trust these algorithms. For example, for algorithm, if you give a panda, so it will say that it is a panda with 60% confidence. And if you add a noise to that picture, it will detect as entirely a different animal. It will detect as a gibbon just by adding some noise. And this is purely possible because when the car goes on the environment on the road, we cannot predict whether it is a rainy day, cloudy day, or fog, or hot summer. So these things will actually matter the algorithm within that. If it's a human, yeah, we are accurate to predict that. But for system, it will be quite challenging. So for example, if you see the road sign, the stop sign, and it has a lot of stickers inside that. So if algorithm may detect this as a speed limit of 45, right? So because of these stickers, it will not detect this as stop, but instead it will notice that it's a speed limit of 45. So instead of stopping the car in the junction, what it will do? It will accelerate, which will cause an accident. And to make more and more complicated. So this is just an example from a traffic sign data. So mainly the traffic signs are classified in different classes. And for example, in Germany, there will be 43 classes of traffic sign. And autonomous car needs to identify that, all of them. But if you look at inside, for example, each class, there will be a lot of variations. Maybe because of aging, maybe because of it's blurred, maybe because of somebody has put a sticker, and maybe because of night, because in the night, because of the light, it will get different reflection. No light, it will be very dull. Occlusions is it could be behind the trees, behind the leaves, and perspectives. It could be tilted because of some accident and other things. So all these things needs to be accurately predicted from the algorithm. So without which car will not perform as expected. Okay, so this is another example on the recent test runs which Tesla has done, where the car was crashed when the car was running on autopilot mode, and Uber cars met with an accident and it killed a pedestrian. And the first one is the two persons hacked the Jeep car and they took over from the remotely from their home. So these are all the vulnerables which is present in the systems. Until these are clarified, it's really difficult to put the fully autonomous car on the road. So to make fully autonomous car, to achieve, so we need to have more than 275 millions of road driven or a road data to be trained for the algorithm. So when will we get a truly autonomous car? This is a Moore's law for self-driving vehicles. So typically the self-driving vehicles, whether it's how much its capability is, depends on how many times it disengages how many times it needs an human interaction while it going in autonomous driving mode per mile. So when the disengagement reaches 10 power 8 miles, then we have achieved fully autonomous driving vehicles. So when that will come, the prediction is 2037. So until when, what, right? So everybody is talking about autonomous vehicle, but it's a long journey to go. So what is next that is immediately coming, and which is also a big step in the autonomous driving, is that level 3, that is conditional automation. Why it is a big leap? Because for the first time, system detects the event and also responses to it. So if you achieve that, then the rest of the things will be little easier, because then we will have the proven system as a base for autonomous driving. So as on today, I don't think any of them have a level 3 automated car running on the road commercially available, including Tesla. So Tesla, even though it says autopilot, but it's a level 2 system. Okay, so what is level 3 systems? Just an example. So one is the traffic jam pilot. Some error here, give me a minute. can check here what are the sensors being used. So it gives a pop-up here that traffic jam pilot can be activated. Right. So in traffic jam pilot, the feature is that it assists the driver in the traffic jam case where it detects the traffic jam and it says the driver that I can do the job for you.
Home sweet home.
And it maneuvers in the traffic jam until the traffic jam is cleared. So primarily here, the object detection, that's the camera being used, and radar, lidars, and surround view cameras are used for the perception. And CAR is maneuvered. The next one, level 2 features, which is upcoming, is that cruising chauffeur or highway pilot.
Those two. The radar.
Right. So these are the two prototypes. It's not a real system which is running on the road, but these are the immediate next thing which will be expected in coming months or a year soon than the autonomous driving. Why it is important? Because this is the first time as a user feels that the system drives and the fear will go. Then the rest of the use cases becomes that easy. What does it need to build a level 3 system? A couple of radars, camera, and a lidar. It's roughly estimated as 13, but yeah, it depends on the OEM, what algorithm or what strategy they will put it. But considering the fact that if the user doesn't take over, or if the driver doesn't take over, it has to park in the safe zone and car has to be halted. But while Tesla uses a different approach, and you want to get rid of radar and LiDAR, but in the current system they have one radar, but they wanted to develop a fully camera-based solution. Again, it's up to the different OEM what strategy they wanted to use, and there will be each pros and cons with respect to the sensors which they choose. For example, a camera's performance may little degrade as when there is a rain or a fog because of the visibility problems. And the camera sensors may also little degrade as the year passes when the car gets aged. As for example, for the LiDARs may perform best. It has the best accuracy, especially in the night. But while in the bright sunny day, LiDAR things may also reduce. So overall, whatever it's the sensors that being used, the system has to be safe. And it has to carry the passenger safely. That's a motto. So, on the fully autonomous driving side, what Bosch has achieved, this is the project which is in collaboration with Daimler and Bosch. And this has piloted in US, San Jose, last year in 2019. Sorry, guys, I have a little problem with the browser. That's the reason I'm just, I'm in trouble in sharing. So good. So this is one of the project even I was working on. This is for the Daimler. So here you can see it's a test drive, and so these two are the employees which are for the test, and they're just a safety driver. So their job is to, for any risk, they want to pitch in. Otherwise, car is moving on its own in the streets of San Jose. So user can book the taxis from the app, and they will mention the location and it will drop off. So this car has more than 75 sensors all around, including the radars, LiDARs, and ultrasonic sensors and cameras.
Thank you for nothing.
Okay. Yeah, so in the fully autonomous area, I think it takes a long way to come, but what is predicted is that fully autonomous in the restricted area, maybe like campuses, big campuses, hotels, golf course, That will come a little early. Then maybe where the cargoes are being moved from one point to another point. Yeah, that may come before the urban automated taxi for the real passengers. Good. So that's all I had for today. Any questions?
Participants, questions you can.
So we have some time. So this is I prepared just a introduction alone, not much details, but I try to touch upon what are the important aspects of autonomous driving and also what will be the role of AI/ML in that.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
First thing, it was a superb presentation.
Thank you.
Sir, what could be the language for the implementation? That is first question.
Mhm.
What could be the cost of for all these cars? And if any company wants to launch in India, what environmental change, the road condition, what change is required in that case? And what is the legal issue and legal provision for in case of accidents?
Okay. So it's a 4 questions, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I miss one question, please repeat it. I don't remember all of them. Okay. First one, I'll take what is the language being used, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just think in this way. So language is an translating unit from a programmer's brain, that's maybe you, to a system understandable format which is sitting in the car. That will be a high compute environment, right? And as a system, I think it doesn't understand any language. I mean, it understands only the mission language at the bottom line, right? But in between, there will be a lot of compilers, linkers, converters, and which makes the things run on the system, right? So in this aspect, as a user or as a programmer, I think he will have a fairly good independence what he needs to use, right? And if you ask me, I mean, can I use C? Of course, yes, you can use C, but you will spend hell lot of time in doing the programming, defining the variable, and all those overheads than focusing on the real algorithm. So in that way, the application level languages may be Python or maybe C++ or Python or any other application language shall be used where it is comfort for a user and he need not have to think about it, right? He can just define an array and it is indefinite length. Whereas in C, you have to say, okay, array of 100 bytes I need or 200. I mean, later you go and change and things like that. So that's too much overhead for such an intellectual algorithm development. So to start with, you can start using the TensorFlow, and which is available for free, and you can write a small algorithm to detect a cat or a dog or something. And there are a lot of open source items also available. There is something called, I think, 1Pixel challenge or something, which can easily started using a Jupyter notebook, where they show, I mean, by changing 1 pixel in an image, how does the output changes. So with respect to the language, yeah, it is the language that you use where you don't have much of overhead of defining the surrounding areas of an algorithm. So your focus is on the algorithm. So whatever the language which makes you to comfort to use that, you use it. Okay, so second question was on the infrastructure side, right?
Yeah.
In India.
Yeah.
Right. So all the videos which you have seen, it's mostly from the Western countries, where the traffic's rule or traffic discipline is much more at higher level than India, and you have proper road markings and other things inbuilt. So that's how some challenges may be little easy. For example, there achieving the highway pilot may be much easier because nobody is allowed to walk on the highway. It's illegal, and they can be penalized for walking and stopping on the highway unnecessarily, right? So in that case, it makes it easy. For example, in the highway pilot case, the vulnerability road user itself is eliminated, and the other algorithm can be strengthened because it's a controlled environment. Autonomous vehicles in the controlled environment is always little easier to develop than an uncontrolled environment. Well, in case of India, yeah, so we are getting better in terms of infrastructure, but yeah, road traffic discipline, I don't know. So if I have 2 lanes, at least I can see 5 lanes sitting next to each other with a lot of bikes, autos, and not following any rules, and we don't know which direction they go and things like that. So India has its own challenges. For Indian case, a separate set of algorithm has to be innovated, and for sure that innovation, we people living in India has to do it because for others it may look strange. So there they don't have a cow or a buffalo on the street, but here we do have.
Right.
To quote a small example, the radar systems, which was originally developed for Western countries, which detects a cow as 2 humans, right? I mean, because they didn't have this use case at all. So now it's has been improved. It's a different case, but yeah, that's how it is because nobody thought about this. So that we need to check, but there are different algorithms are there. So for example, instead of lane based algorithm to a free space algorithm, something like that, where a vehicle is trained to maneuver center of the free space and things like that. I mean, this is a lot of research has to be done in this area. So what was the other question, if you can remind?
Sir, it was regarding the cost.
Okay, cost. Okay, if you imagine the cost, for example, the car which I have shown was a Mercedes S-Class, which we are working. You can imagine the cost would be, if it is a fully autonomous, cost would be double of it. So that's the reason, as an individual, nobody wanted to own it, but as a fleet operator, they can own such a fleets of car, which has less maintenance, and they can make a savings in the other areas.
Right, because same issue we are facing for the electric bike and all. Na? Initial costing is too high right now.
Electric, yeah, maybe it's a mixed opinion. It is not really that high, but yeah, for example, if you want to buy a Tata Nexon, a internal combustion engine and electric, I would say internal combustion engine and pay for a 3 years petrol price, that will you will get electric. So it's not really that differential, but when it comes to autonomous, it is differential, huge.
Okay. The last was may not be exactly related to our area, but a legal issue in case of accident.
Legal issue. So this is exactly the debating point happens everywhere. For example, how it was, it's actually evolved. It is not there anywhere. It's evolving, still evolving. One is who is responsible for any accidents, right? There's a primary contention, the who is liable or who should we punish. So in that case, the legislations are working, but currently what has been done is that certain streets in Germany and maybe some cities in US, maybe not the streets. So government has given an approval for all the car manufacturer or any tech enthusiast to develop an autonomous solution in their street. So it is just in the piloting phase. It is not in the rollout phase. So there is a lot of difference. When it is piloting phase, there is some agreement that OEM has to do with the authority, and that liabilities were discussed within that scope. So then it is clear. But once these things are proven, then I think definitely a legal aspect will come in. But until level 3, I think there is no problem. That's the reason we are predicting that level 3 will come faster, because there will be a driver sitting in the driver's seat and he's responsible. That's clear.
Okay, sir. Satisfied. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Participants, do you have any other questions? So I have a question.
Yes.
With respect to the maintenance, when it comes to the fully autonomous vehicles, for any unit, we will be whenever we do the maintenance, the spare parts, we service it, all those things. With respect to this autonomous algorithms, all those things, how it will be maintained, how it will be taken care.
Right. So I'll split this question into two parts. When you say maintenance, there is a car mechanical maintenance and then algorithm maintenance,
Yeah.
right? Right. So mechanical maintenance, it would be very less compared to the traditional driver because it is completely driven by a system and it knows. And if you know this digital twin concept, and it can even predict what goes bad when, and it can send this to the garage, right? Then comes to the sensor maintenance. So especially these are the challenges that nobody sees on the front line, but in a muddy road, when you drive, then your camera will be covered, right? So then how does this work? So for that, a separate system needs to be developed just to clean up the things, wipers and other things needs to be installed. This is required not only annual maintenance; it's required every day, right? So car sensors has to be clean always, and it has to be calibrated. For example, as the car gets old, the sensors gets old, and typically, it's all physics, right? So sensors is some mechanical electronic item, and which has a wear and tear eventually, and it has a life, right? So then it has to be calibrated very often. So typically the calibration happens inbuilt. There will be a program inside that which calibrates the car before it starts, and it checks for all the sensors being working before it starts. Otherwise, car will not move. Okay. And algorithm maintenance, I think you must be knowing. So it's all AI algorithm. So it gets better and better day by day. But whenever it needs an update, this will be done over the air. So that's where the OTA comes in the picture. And typically this is not done at the user station. Maybe it is done at the dealer location or at the fleet.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Meena. So I think there are no queries. Sri Ranjan sir, really it was a wonderful session. We were getting the glimpse of the autonomous vehicles, how it really works, and what kind of AI is being powered over there, and what are the various levels. I think really it is very like difficult for that to get into Indian road systems, as you told the limitations of the radar and sensors. But it was very nice session, sir. We are happy to have you. Thank you for delivering your session and spending some time with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks a lot. Right. As a last word, so even though it is challenging, but yeah, we have a big technical group here sitting in India. I think jointly we can solve the problems.
Yeah, that is true.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.